All right, so let's go to Kant. Let's review briefly what we talked about last time so we can be back. It's been like, I don't know, 2 weeks since we talked about Kant. Okay, so remember, for Kant, there's two forces within us, right, that are dictating what we should do. Can anybody remind me what are the two forces that we have within us? Okay, instinct and reason. Very good, right? So these are usually, right, moving us forward, and we are supposed to obviously choose reason over instinct, since reason is the part of us which for Kant is the higher part, is the part of us which is interested in the good, right? And then there's a part of us which is interested in what? What is instinct interested in?
What's good for ourselves?
Exactly, happiness. Okay, so we saw last time how Kant showed us that we were not made just for happiness, right? And the way he did that was to just simply go from an analysis of human nature, right? Given that we're made of these two forces, he says, if we were made just for happiness, remember this argument, right? If we were made just for happiness, it would have been enough to create us with what?
They would just made us with instinct.
Exactly, right? It would have been enough to have instinct, and we would be happy, we would be fine. But somehow we have an added feature, which is constantly going against our happiness, called reason. And this is why for Kant, this is an indication that perhaps we were made for more than happiness, that there is this force within us, which is constantly at odds with instinct, with our desire for happiness. It seems to want something else. This for Kant is an indication that perhaps we were made for more than happiness, right? So that's the argument that we talked about last time. Now, we talked about last time how the voice of reason is not going to be happiness, right? And that it's about to be, the voice of reason is about the good, but we still do not know what the good is, right? At this point, we know what reason is saying is not. We know what reason is, let me say it differently. We know what reason is not, right? What reason is not saying, right? Reason is not orienting us to heaven, but we don't know yet really what it sounds like. So today we're going to find out. We're going to find out exactly what the voice of reason sounds like, right? Remember the difficult example I gave you last time with the cheating example, right? You have your best friend, they lost their whole family or somebody, they can't study for the test. It's Sunday night, right? Begging you to help them, remember? And you are now torn between, should I help them? Should I not help them? If you help them, right, they're cheating. If you don't help them, they lose everything. And so some of you were hesitating, right? Some of you were saying, yeah, I'll help them. Some of you were saying, I won't help them. But we weren't sure yet, right? Which one is the moral action? Today we're going to find out, right? Today we're going to see which one is the right action not according to Kant, by the way, right? What is Kant talking about when he's talking about morality?
The greater good.
Yes, but this greater good, who knows about it? Is Kant the authority on what is the good?
No.
Who's the authority? Yes? We are, right? Kant is only describing something within us, right? Kant is not telling you this is good, this is bad, right? Kant is describing a knowledge that we all have within ourselves. We all know deep down what is the good, right? And the problem is that some of us know it more than others, right? For some of us, the voice of reason is louder. And so the whole goal of this book, right, that we're studying is for us to fine-tune our hearing so we can detect the voice of reason more. But we all have this voice. We all know what is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. And all that Kant is doing is simply fine-tuning our hearing so that we hear that voice better. Okay, so deep down, but the problem, of course, is that we get mixed up. Either we don't hear the voice of reason or the voice of instinct masquerades as the voice of reason, right? Let me say that again so you can write it down, right? The problem is, right, we have these two voices and it should be easy, but it's not, because number one, either the voice of reason is too small, too soft, we don't hear it much, we have big voice of instinct, right? Or, and this is what we saw last time, the voice of instinct sometimes masquerades as the voice of reason. Sometimes it sounds like the voice of reason, right? Remember the example when the bar, and then you have the girl coming and she know, going through some stuff with her boyfriend, and now you're thinking, should I go up, you know, and a lot of different answers, right? And one of you said, well, no, I'm not going to go up because, you know, I don't want any trouble, right? Is that the voice of instinct or the voice of reason?
Instinct.
Exactly. You don't want any trouble. You're thinking of your happiness, right? So again, right? And even though it's the right thing to do, to not go up, the really who is talking is the voice of instinct. So it's sometimes hard to distinguish. Today, we're going to have a clear perspective. Kant is going to give us a very clear analysis of what the voice of reason really sounds like, so that we can clearly distinguish between instinct and reason. Okay, are you guys ready? Everybody good? Any questions so far?
Right.
Good. Okay, awesome. All right, so go to page 35, actually 34. All of you are on page 34.
Right.
Top of page 34. It says here, philosophy. Everybody's there. Wave at me if you're there.
Wave at you or?
At top of page 34. Here, philosophy is. Who's there? Wave at me.
With our hands?
Yeah, you know, the virtual hand doesn't seem to be we seem to be conversing very nicely like this. Okay, all right, I'm going to read, right? Here, philosophy is seen, in fact, to be put in a precarious position, which should be firm, even though there is neither in heaven nor on earth anything upon which it depends or is based. Okay, in other words, as you're about to make a moral decision, you are in a precarious position, right? You're not sure what to do, what to decide. And you realize that there is help neither in heaven nor on earth. Is there going to be any type of help for you to make a decision? So what does he mean by heaven? What does he mean by earth? Let's start with heaven. What would Kant mean by heaven? What does heaven symbolize in his writing? When he says heaven cannot help us to know what is right and wrong, what is he alluding to?
The afterlife?
So the afterlife can tell you what is right and wrong? You have a communication system with the afterlife?
No.
So what is this?
Maybe some of us do.
Some of us do.
Oh my.
The ghost of my grandmother is telling me right now this is wrong. This is what Kant is saying. When he means metaphorically, right? When he says heaven, he means metaphorically. What is he talking about?
Religion.
Exactly, right? So he's saying religion is no more a criteria. Religion cannot help us, right? Because religion is imposed from the outside. It's not the moral voice. And many times we'll realize that the moral voice goes against religion. Religion is not a good guide, right? And we've seen in history, right, how religion has given, and Kant is aware of this, religion has brought wars, inquisition, persecutions, violence, right? So religion is not reliable, according to Kant, right? But neither is what he calls the earth reliable. So what does he mean by earth? What does that mean?
What do you mean by like friends and other people around you?
Almost.
Okay.
Think in terms of nature. Does anybody know this trend in philosophy which bases morality on nature? Anybody aware of that?
Like watching the way that animals do things?
Exactly, right? A lot of philosophers say that there is a natural law, right, that we ought to follow, and this is how we know what is right and wrong. We have to follow the laws of nature, or how the natural world functions, right? So you have this, by the way, in Chinese philosophy. This is one of the central tenets of Chinese philosophy of Taoism is that if we follow the course of nature, we will do spontaneously the right things, right? So you have this, but you also had this in Greek philosophy, right? That we just ought to align ourselves to nature, and then we will know naturally what is right and wrong. Now, the problem with that is that when we look at nature, do we have a clear view there of what is right and wrong? What do you see when you go to the Nature Channel, for instance? What's the thing you always see on the Nature Channel?
Something being hunted?
Yes, something being eaten by something else, right? So clearly, right, nature is not the best guide when it comes to right and wrong, because otherwise we would be eating each other up, right? So he's saying, neither can we find in religion, neither can we find by observing reality or nature, we cannot know what is right and wrong. Why? Because only deep down within us, we know. The only way to know is by tuning into this voice within us, which always knows, right? Okay, so that's just a little introduction. Now, let's go to page 35 as we fine-tune what reason is supposed to sound like, okay? So, this is a little complicated and long-winded, so pay very, very close attention. This is one of the difficult parts of page 35. If you go to the second paragraph, and in the middle of the second paragraph, you have on the left-hand side, capital H, hence. You see it. So middle of the second paragraph on the left, right, you have capital H, hence. It's very obvious. Okay, who sees it? Hence. Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to read that, and we're going to see how he goes beyond now the simple distinction between reason and instinct, right? You had reason, instinct, and now he's going to go deeper into this distinction, right? So maybe you can write down, right? If I had a board, which I don't sadly, let me try and do it here on the chat, everyone. So there is reason versus instinct, right? These are the two main things we've seen so far. But now it's going to right? So reading together, hence there arises. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Hence there arises the distinction. Okay, so keep continuing the distinction between subjective ends, which rest on incentives, and objective ends, which depend on motives valid for every rational being. This is the key passage for today, right? So he's looking, so beyond the distinction between reason and instinct, we have the distinction between objective ends and subjective ends, right? Now, we need to study what does that mean and which one goes where. So let's try and figure out. Take a wild guess. Objective ends, reason or instinct?
Reason.
Okay, very good, right? Objective ends belongs with reason. So reason is thinking about objective ends, whereas instinct is thinking about subjective ends, okay? So what is an end? An end is a goal, right? So reason has an objective goal, instinct has a subjective goal. You can already sense where this is going, right? So let's look, he explains each one, right? So subjective ends, he says, so let me type this up. Subjective ends, he says, rests on incentives. Okay, what does that mean that it rests? What's an incentive?
Something you get from completing something else.
Yes, something you get, right? I will do this only if there's something in it for me. That's an incentive, right? So if I'm going to do this, I'm doing it because ultimately there's something in it for me. What am I thinking about at that moment?
Yourself.
My happiness, right? So an incentive is, I'm thinking about the goal here is my happiness. So subjective ends is a goal which has to do with me. It's a goal for me. In other words, it's a goal which has my happiness in mind. Okay, so subjective ends is a goal that has my happiness in mind. Okay, so now we've got that. Now this part we know already, right? That instinct is interested in subjective ends. It's interested in my happiness. What we still don't know is what reason is. So now we have to go deeper. So objective ends, he says, depends on motives valid for every where is it? Rational being. Writing it down. Are you guys, is this helpful what I'm doing in the chat, by the way?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not typing for nothing. Okay.
Yes.
So objective ends, right, has in mind motives valid for every rational being. So in other words, what are you thinking about when you are thinking of an objective end?
Everyone.
Exactly. Not just everyone, because everyone includes your pets and your plants, every rational being, right? So in other words, objective ends is a goal that has not happiness, right? That has every rational being in mind, okay? That's the difference, okay? So now we're fine-tuning, right? So we have subjective ends is a goal that has my happiness in mind. Objective ends is a goal that has every rational being in mind. In other words, when I'm acting according to objective ends, I'm acting with every rational being in my mind. That's what I have in mind before I act. Whereas subjective ends, when I'm acting, I have my happiness in mind. Make sense? Everybody clear on the distinction?
Yeah.
Now, notice he doesn't talk about the happiness of every rational being, right? Why? Why?
Because that would be instinctive.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because we have seen before, right? Even if you're doing something to help someone and make them happy, that could be an immoral action. For example, suppose you're married to the mafia and the mafia tells you, hey, would you help us, with this, murder? And you just need to drive the car, right? That would make us really happy if you could drive the car and then we'll take care of everything else. I mean, you're making the person happy. You're putting your life in danger, you're sacrificing yourself, but it's still not a moral action, right? So the happiness of the other is not necessarily moral. You can actually do something deeply immoral while thinking of the happiness of the other, right? Does that make sense? So we're very clear that reason has in mind neither my happiness nor the happiness of the other. That's not what reason is about. Reason is about the right thing to do, which doesn't care at all about happiness. Everybody got that? Let me say it again, right? So reason is not about happiness. Neither my happiness nor the happiness of the other. Doesn't matter, right? It has to do simply with the right thing to do, which is nothing to do with happiness. And we're going to see what it is now. Marcel, did you have is your hand up? No? Okay. No question, Marcel?
So you said reason is happiness about what? Sorry, couldn't hear you.
Okay. So reason is not interested in happiness, neither my happiness nor the happiness of the other. This is not what reason is about, right? Reason is about something higher than happiness. It's about the right thing to do, which might not make anybody happy, neither me nor you, right? Okay, so now let's go deeper. What is reason doing? Okay, so here we are. So what we're seeing here is that reason is an action where you have rational being in mind. Okay, so before we can understand what that means, we have to understand what is a rational being. Once we understand that, we will know what reason is thinking about, what it is aligning itself to. Okay, now there's a definition of that. Last paragraph on page 35. We have a definition of the rational being. This is the key. If we understand what is a rational being, we understand what the voice of reason sounds like. Okay, let me say that again. If we understand what is a rational being, we understand what reason is going to sound like, because reason is always going to remind us here is a rational being. Now you know what to do based on that. We'll see that, okay? Okay, so let's go to page 35, last paragraph. Do you see where it says, now I say that man? Everybody's there?
Yeah.
Who's there? Wave at me.
It's at the bottom of page 35, right?
Yes, last paragraph.
Yeah.
35, the beginning of that paragraph. Now I say that man. Everybody there? Waving? Okay, great. All right, now we have our definition. Now I say that man, and in general, every rational being. And now he's going to define what is a rational being. He says this, exists as an end in himself and not merely as a means to be arbitrarily used by this or that will, okay? That's what a rational being is. A rational being is, I'm gonna type it up for everyone, rational being is an end in itself and not a means. Okay, so we have to understand what that is so that we can understand what reason is thinking about. Okay, what does it mean to be a means? What is it?
Utilize.
Exactly, right? To be a means is to be an object that you can use. So my bottle is a means, right? It carries water. My phone is a means. It's an object that I can use. And what else? When I'm done with it,
Discard it, get rid of it.
discard it. Okay, maybe we talked about this already, right? So a means is, it's an object that I can use and discard. So now knowing that, what is an end in itself? It's the opposite. What does Kant mean here by end in itself? So it's the opposite of being a means. So what does he say?
Doing it for the sake of doing it, not
Exactly. And in itself means it has value apart from any use it has for me. That's what it means to be an end in itself. Okay, let me say it again. Maybe I'll write it down, right? End in itself means that it has value apart from any use to me, right? It has a value in itself. it has intrinsic value, right? It's not, its value doesn't depend on whether it's useful or not. It has value in itself. It is an end in itself, right? Okay, now we can understand a little better the distinction, going back to what I wrote, right? Between reason, instincts, objective ends, right? Reason, basically what reason is saying to you, right? All the time what you're sensing when reason is talking to you or is communicating with you is this. Reason is always going to be sensing, here is a rational being, i.e., this being I cannot use as I want to. That's what reason is doing. Reason is the faculty within us which stops us from using each other. As soon as you're about to use someone, reason will kick in and be like, wait. Do we want to do that? Is this the right thing to do? I don't think so. It would make you happy to use that person right now. But that's the moment where reason will step in. In other words, reason is always going to be interested, right? The voice of reason is always about protecting human beings from being used. Voice of reason is always thinking, not of myself, not of my happiness, not of the happiness of the other. It's thinking about the sanctity of the human being, right? Let me say that again, right? The voice of reason is not thinking about the happiness of the human being. Voice of reason is thinking about the sanctity of the human being. In other words, here, so far you can go, but no further, right? You can have this, but not that, right? You can be with this person, but you cannot possess this person, right? You can enjoy this person, but you cannot use them, right? Reason is the faculty in us which places a sacred boundary around the other, and in a way keeps us, or how shall I put it? So let me say it again, right? Reason places a sacred boundary around the other. Reason is the sense of the sacredness of the other, and it's that feeling or that voice which constantly intervenes as we're about to use somebody else. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
So it's a matter of like preserving someone?
Exactly. Not preserving their life, not even, right?
No, I mean like in terms of preserving themselves, like don't change someone.
Themselves what?
Like not changing someone to suit you.
Almost, right? More specifically, we'll see with Buber, we have that. But with Kant, it's simply not using someone. That's it.
Okay.
He limits it to that. With Buber, we'll get into all of what you're saying, right? There's more. But with Kant, he limits it. As soon as you start to want to use someone, right? Reason will kick in and will, what's the word? It will,
Warn.
It will contradict me, or it will,
Prevent.
yeah,
Shenanigans.
it will step in, right? It will step in between me and the other that I'm about to use, right? So now we can see more clearly what the voice of reason sounds like. Kant goes even deeper, and he says this way of protecting, right, the other from being used by me. This he has a specific word for it on page 36. Does anybody know what Kant calls this care that we have to not use the other? He has a specific word which starts with an R on page 36. Anybody's seen it? Top of page 36. So the refusal to use another human being, he gives a name for that. Starts with an R, top of page 36. Fifth line.
Respect.
Respect. Okay, exactly, right? So what Kant is talking about really is the essence of respect. To respect someone is to refuse to use them. As soon as you start to use someone, you're losing respect for that person, right? Let's read them together. On the top of page 36. On the other hand, rational beings are called persons, inasmuch as their nature already marks them out as ends in themselves, right? So human beings are persons, meaning that they have value in themselves, apart from any use, right? As something which is not to be used merely as a means, and hence, now this is the key, make sure you underline this, there is imposed thereby a limit on all arbitrary use of such beings, which are thus objects of respect. In other words, reason is constantly putting a limit on your desire for happiness. I want this, I want that, I want this person, I want them to do this, I want them to do that. And each time you start to cross the line, right, of respect, reason is going to put a limit. Reason is that which puts a limit onto your instinct. Instinctually, we would just use each other all over the place, right? Because we just want happiness. But reason steps in and places a boundary around the other person, a sacred boundary through which I cannot go. And if I do, I am infringing upon that person's sacredness, and I'm disobeying my own reason in a way, right? So that's what respect is. Respect is the choice we make not to use somebody. Everybody clear on that? Now, it's interesting because it's not just about the other. Who else is a rational being?
Yourself.
Exactly. Now this becomes interesting. This is the first time in this course that we talk about the self, right? We're usually always talking about the other, you have to love the other. Now we have something else here. Respect is also for yourself, right? We are also asked, reason is also demanding that we respect ourselves and that we do not allow anyone to cross that sacred boundary, right? And to use us, because then we are losing something of our humanity, right? So, so basically what the voice of reason is doing, right, is simply this, is the notion here that so for Kant, he's not against happiness, right? We have to be clear on that. Kant is not against happiness, but he's saying happiness, our happiness ends where the dignity of another human being begins, right? Let me write this down so you can, right? So our happiness ends where the dignity of another human being begins, right? This is really the essence of what Kant is saying, right? So Kant is not against instinct. He's not against our desire for happiness. He's not against us using things to make us happy, right? Using your phone, using your computer, using, I don't know, Netflix, using food, right? He's all for that, but he's saying our happiness has a limit, and that limit is the sacred dignity of the other human being. This is where our how shall I put it? Yeah, this is where our instinct must stop, right? This is where our quest for happiness must stop. And as we discipline ourselves to not use each other, we are learning how to respect each other, and including ourselves, not allowing someone to use us, right? So that's what the voice of reason really sounds like, right? Everybody clear? Any questions so far? Now, it's going to help to go back to our example, right? So remember the example of the cheating, right? So it's Sunday night, you have a big test, person lost their whole family, they need you to help them cheat, there is no other way. Now, what is the true voice of reason saying? So most of us be like, yeah, sure, you can cheat off me, but there should be a little discomfort, tiny, right? Some of us bigger discomfort, but all of us should be feeling a slight discomfort. What is this slight discomfort with the whole situation?
That they're basically using you in order to get a better grade.
Exactly, right? Even though your heart is telling you, I need to help this person, even though it is in a way the right thing to do because you are, I mean, it feels like the right thing to do. It's not, but it feels like the right thing to do because you're being self-sacrificial, you're helping someone, they're going through all this, but there should be one little thing that is kicking in, a little slight discomfort, and this is reason telling you, watch out, you are about to lose your own something, you're losing a little chunk of your humanity in the process, right? Your dignity is in danger, right? So now we can go into several different examples. Anybody has any moral dilemma you want us to look at in a Kantian lens, just to illustrate? Anybody have a ambiguous situation where you're not sure what to do? And then we can help parse it for you with the use of our information.
I suppose like the decision of where to like join back a game just to help Well, joining back a game because you'd want to help the people that you're in a group with to help do better in it, versus not doing the game because you feel like you don't have any time,
A game like what kind of game?
like like a video game.
Okay, great. All right, let's look at an example of video game. So you want to join, but you don't have any time. If you join, does anybody lose their dignity?
Just it's a matter of like you will lose out on your time. You could probably do things better in your life.
Okay, so what Ben is pointing out is something very important. Most of our decisions have to do with instinct. It's very rare that we're going to have a moral dilemma. Most of the time is like, would I be happier if I did this, or would I be happier if I did that, right? So most of our decisions, what college to go to, what major to have, who to date, right? Most of our decisions are in the realm of instinct. What would make me happier, right? And at that moment, you have to use your instinct, right? Don't use your reason. It's not going to help, right? But there are key moments in life where you will be in a genuine moral dilemma, and this is when the dignity of another person or your dignity is in danger. This is not often, right? But does anybody have any examples, day-to-day examples, where the dignity of someone is in danger, where now you are choosing between happiness and preserving the dignity of that person? Think in terms of romantic relationships. Are there any examples in romantic relationships where happiness is conflicting with the dignity of you or of another person? Let's have an example. So Ben just showed an instinct problem. This is most of our issues, but sometimes there is the issue of dignity. Anybody have an example like that?
I have one.
Go ahead, Eva.
My friend kind of knew that the guy I was talking to was with other girls, but she didn't tell me.
Oh no,
Okay.
she gotta go.
We're not friends anymore.
All right.
Oh,
Okay.
well,
I
damn.
know I
She
was
did
sitting on
that.
mute.
She didn't.
Choices were made. Choices were made.
What decided that? Her reason or her instinct? What do you think was her motivation for not telling you?
She thought that
He
that was
kinda
just
going.
one of those things you shouldn't say because it would have hurt to tell me. So she didn't want to hurt me.
Oh, okay. So who was doing the thinking? Instinct or reason?
Ooh, instinct sounding powerful.
Okay. What would have been the right thing to do you think?
She should have told you.
She should have told her
Why is that
Exactly.
the rational thing to do, though?
because it's the right thing to
That
do.
ain't no, we should know.
Look deeper, look deeper. What would she have protected if she had told you?
The dignity of her like finding out the hard way.
Not quite, Ben.
Maybe
Almost.
protected your friendship, because obviously this young lady, she was just off. She was off.
Why is she? Now you guys have to go deeper. You have the tools. You can't just say she's
Because
off.
she said, if you, well, no, let me not. Never mind.
You should be able to say this now with the tools I gave you very deeply and analytically. Why was it the right thing to do?
Oh, because wait, was someone else speaking?
No, not that.
Oh, well, all right, bet. So would it be because it would, if you didn't tell, well, if she didn't tell her, then that means like the person is using her, and the main point of like reasoning is to prevent that.
Finally, very good. The right thing to do was to tell you because you were being used, so your dignity was in danger, and your self-respect was in danger, and so she would have been protecting your dignity instead of thinking about your happiness, she was thinking of your dignity. Do you see, everybody sees the scenario, right? So her friend thought of her happiness. Oh, that'll make her sad if I tell her this guy is, using her. But she should have thought of, the voice of reason would have said, wait, your friend's dignity, your friend is being used, she's an object, you need to put a stop to it. And that would have been the rational approach. Everybody sees that? That's the idea, right? So now you're able to see clearly, right, when something is wrong, and most of the time, to be honest, it's just instinct, the right decision for what would make us happier. But there are moments, like Acevedo mentioned, where dignity becomes the issue. Dignity versus happiness, right? Anybody have another example? It's a very good example. Thank you, Acevedo.
So
No
I
problem.
would have never said that.
Any other example or questions? Silence. Okay,
No
good.
other example.
Everybody understands clearly the distinction, right? I need one more dilemma because we have a little bit of time. One more dilemma where you are struggling to make a decision and which is not on the level of instinct. Or you can imagine a dilemma. Let me try and think if I can think of one.
Can we try to solve the dilemma, the one at the bar?
Sure. I mean, that one I thought was pretty
Oh,
clear.
wow.
No, you guys were not clear about whether to go up to the girl or not?
No, but I mean, like, what would be the reason, like, approach? Because some of us said we wouldn't approach, and like that was still like based on instinct.
Let's try that one. Okay, so the girl at the bar, she's miserable with their boyfriend, but you know, they're having a hard time. You think you should go up. I think, you know, and so what would be the right thing to do when it comes to going up or not to the girl at the bar? Okay, I don't even know the answer yet. So I'm not sure what's going to come out of this. What do you think? Should you go up? And if so, what's the rationale, right? What is the reason? What's your voice of reason saying? Or if you don't go up, what is reason telling you is the reason for that? Okay, let's see if you can do this.
You wouldn't really go up because if you go up, if you try to talk to her, you would feel like you're using her in order to be with her. Maybe. I'm not sure.
Your voice dip, bro.
How?
You're cutting out.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
The connection.
You could try typing it.
That's too much.
Wait, can you hear me now?
Yeah, when you lean closer.
All right, so you wouldn't go up to her because it would
Yeah, it's
be
not working.
like using
Yeah, you're
Cutting off.
Nah, bro. It ain't it.
Say something, bro.
her.
You got all the answers. Come on.
All right, I know. Someone answer for me because I guess I can't answer.
You wouldn't go up?
I can't because it's just cutting out.
He wouldn't go up. All right. So he's saying reason says he wouldn't go up. So why? Let's try to answer for Koralashvili. Then you can say if we were right or not. Why is not the good idea to go up based on reason?
Would it be because, like, if we end up going up, you know, like the person might end up seeing us as something that might be to use to get out of like what's happened in terms of like, you know, that whole like bounce back type thingy. And it could also be vice versa. You're trying to use them in order to get something while they're weakened.
But what if you truly love them and you're not going to use them?
Yeah, but you're also taking like trying to get them when they're vulnerable, you know, instead of, you know, when they're at their like full potential in a sense. Because if someone is down and stuff like that, huh?
Okay, not bad. Let's write down Ben's answers. Number one, you might be used. This is the perfect moment for you to be used because you become the bounce back, you know, thing, right? The person is depressed. You're the perfect target for rebound relationship, right? So now you're in danger of being, but you're also in danger of not so much using them as having power over them because they're vulnerable. So now so Kant doesn't talk about having power, right? But in a way that's using, right? When you have power over something, I have power over a pencil. Pencil doesn't have freedom, agency, right? So an extension of what Kant is saying is if you are exerting some kind of power over the person, you are also not respecting their dignity, right? So they're vulnerable. You are the strong one. You are in a way in the power struggle. You are overpowering them at that moment. You could overpower them at that moment because they're vulnerable, and so in that sense, right? You write, okay, so Rivera, because they only think about their happiness when not respecting the healing process. Okay. Yes, very good, Rivera. Right, there's the notion of not respecting the healing process. So how does that connect with Kant? I'm curious. How does not respecting the healing process be a way of using the other person?
I don't think Kant would think about the healing process.
No.
He wouldn't. He just thinks that we're just
You're right. Yes, that's true, because this is all base emotion. That's a good point. So he would be more about maybe the vulnerable and overpowering the person. You're right. He wouldn't. He
the
would.
respect, I guess, the respect of the other person, right? That's his main.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Rodriguez, did you want to add something?
No, I mean, I just had a difficult time with Kant. That's all.
Me too.
Okay, so what's your difficulty? Let's see if we can clarify it.
I mean, I don't see how you can apply Kant to real life problems.
No, we're doing it right now.
I mean, are we really though?
Give me a real life problem that you think he doesn't apply to.
I mean, I guess when I was reading through it, so he's basically saying that we're these rational beings, right? Based on, I think one of the things he said, pure reason. Is that what he says?
Yeah.
And we have these instincts. So I don't see how you're saying 90%, 95% of the time we walk around and every decision we're making is based on instincts, right? But we need them, right? Because how would we eat, shelter ourselves? They're important. Those are important things that I don't see how you can, our instincts, how you can align them for that greater good, I guess. Because I guess when I was reading, he was talking of, I don't know, is he talking about that we should be behaving for the greater good of everyone?
So no, what Kant is saying is that instinct is fine. It's not a bad thing, right? Most of our lives are spent in the instinctual realm, thinking about what to eat, what to wear, what to watch, right? And it's fine, right? But he's saying there are moments in life where you cannot use instinct because that would be immoral. Very rare moments, right? So that's the moment where reason kicks in. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I guess a moral dilemma would be, I don't know, let's use the pandemic, and you're a spreader. Like, are you gonna save someone? Are you willing to save your family member and have other 5 people die to save that one person, your mother or father? Is that a moral dilemma?
So you're torn between being a medic, right? And keeping your family safe, right?
Yeah.
Because what I'm seeing here is more of an instinct dilemma. It has to do more with happiness. My happiness versus, that's a good question. I'm not seeing any end to the dignity. Is there any way that I'm working against somebody's dignity so suppose I choose to stay home, right? To not endanger my family. Would that be wrong or right, according to Kant?
Well, what if we add in the fact that, there's some people that if they were like dying, they would always say like, oh, give it to the other person. Like, I feel maybe then like the choice of reason would come into play. But like you also said earlier on, that the right and wrong choices always like mixed in with instinct and reason, as in like you could do the right thing but still have like the wrong motives for it, and likewise vice versa.
Yeah, in other words, when you're choosing, whatever you're choosing with this pandemic dilemma that Rodriguez is giving us, are you choosing based on happiness, or are you choosing based on the right thing to do? That's it, right? If your reason is telling you the right thing to do is to stay home, you stay home. If your reason is saying the right thing to do is to help, you help. You see what I mean? Reason is just that voice which will tell you not what is nothing to do with happiness, but what's the right thing to do. And sometimes the right thing to do, your reason might point you, I have to go and help these people. Sometimes the right thing to do is to stay home. But the idea is you should not be thinking in terms of happiness. But it's a difficult one because I don't see the notion of using someone there. You see what I mean? So it feels like it's a decision on the level of instinct. So it's you see what I mean? what is the greater happiness? Not the greater good, but the happiness. So you're thinking in terms of practical, right? You're not thinking in terms of, am I about to destroy someone's dignity, right? So that seems, at least for me right now, seems to be a question on the level of instinct. Most of our dilemmas are on the level of instinct, which is not bad, right? But there are moments where, I have a specific issue where someone's dignity is about to be broken, right? In that sense. Okay, so Diaz. Yes, Diaz. So he's asking, if you've gotten so used to listening to instinct, is reason still there for you? Yes, but it's small, it's a very small voice. And if you read Kant's book, you will have the voice of reason will grow because the book is there to
Like,
witness.
I read Kant's book and like it's still, it's still hard.
Yes, it's hard. Definitely. If it's not hard, it's not morality, right?
Okay.
It's supposed to be hard. Okay. All right, so you have a test coming up, right?
Ready?
Yeah, test on Kant and Rumi. And you're lucky, you only get 2 questions, and these are the ones that will be on the test. You saw in the syllabus, right? In the syllabus, I have put all the test questions you will get. So for this, the test coming up, you have what is love for Rumi, and that's such a no-brainer. You can just go and put all the quotes you want in there. And then number 2, what is respect for Kant, and that's what we just did, right? So remember, when you write the test, you want to make sure you have supporting quotes, right?
Only one quote, right?
Depends on how many points you're making, right? So if you have 3 points in Rumi, you need 3 quotes. If when you're talking about respect, by the way, when you answer these questions, you don't want to just say respect is da da da. No, you want to bring in everything we talked about into this answer, right? Remember, these questions are broad, right? So you want to talk about everything that we've talked about so far in Kant, and then siphon it into the question on respect, right? You can't just say respect is this. You got to bring in everything, right? The whole preparatory stuff we talked about. Does that make sense?
I have a question.
Yes, again.
When you say everything, do you mean like actually everything, or could we just choose like 2 or 3 things?
Like everything. So, I mean, as long as this connects to this question, right? You don't tell me like, where Kant was born, right? I don't care. But what you need to have a really detailed answer that brings in as much as possible from the lectures so far, right? Does that make sense? Morales, you have a question? No, okay. All right, good. Also, you have your essay, right? Your essay is due. Hold on, there's a little chat. 1 page for one. Yes. So, so please, you need to type it, right? Because you're sending the email. So, who has trouble with typing? Anybody doesn't know how to type? Y'all are millennials. You all know how to type, right? It's like, you can't breathe if you can't type, y'all. You can't. You can communicate with each other. So you type the answer. It's 1 page per question, single spaced. Okay. You send it in docx format, DOCX, right? Don't give me some fancy weird thing I can't open up. And then so you put both questions in 1 file, and then the second document that you send in the same email is your essay, right? Remember, your essay is some love crisis. So you look at the crisis either in your life or in somebody else's life, and then whatever we learn from Rumi and Kant, is there anything that can help them move forward, help them unravel the problem? So that's your essay, and that's 3 pages double spaced, and you send me that in the same email. Okay, any questions?
Oh, wait, question. Yeah. For Kant, right? With the whole dignity thing, does it mean like different people have different levels of dignity? Like in terms of someone may not want this type of thing, so that's like their level of dignity, and vice versa. Some people are fine with these type of things, so they have like less dignity.
So this is what's interesting about Kant, is that every rational being has the same, right, dignity. So even if you allowing yourself to be used, right, over and over again, like many of us do, right, then you're still worthy of the same dignity, right? So no matter who we are, we all have the same, as a human being, we all merit, we all should protected. Our dignity should be protected in the same way. Does that make sense, Ben?
Yeah, thank you.
There's a couple questions. So Shabain, in the new syllabus, there's the dates and also when the exam is due, and also you have to email it to me, and I put my email there. Does that answer your question, Shabain? And also, yes, Korelashvili is the same essay, always same thing. Crisis, philosophers, right? Let's see. So, does anybody know the date? It's technically. Yes, it's due always, the exams are always due Saturday night at midnight. Exam and essay, Saturday night at midnight, so that on Sunday I can grade them. So you have about 4 days, 5 days to do this. On Thursday, we'll start Kierkegaard nevertheless, even though you have an exam still going. Okay, any other questions? Okay, doc, like this. This is a normal Word document. Any other questions on the test or anything like that? Okay. So this week you only have the test to worry about, and then on Thursday I will introduce Kierkegaard. You don't have any reading assignments. You have a nice relaxed week, except for your test and an essay. We good? Okay, so if some of you still have private, oh, by the way, in general, right? If some of you want to stay behind and talk, have a question, have, you know, you want to go further in the lecture, you can stay behind. When everybody leaves the meeting, I'm there. Then we can talk some more, right? So if anybody still has a question, you can, yes, you can do a PDF. So you can also send it in PDF. So yeah, so if anybody else has a question, you can stay behind. The rest of you can go. Have a good next 2 days until I see you again.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm just gonna take a screenshot of all the chats and stuff.
Sharon, were you able to take attendance by any chance?
Yeah, so I just sent you a Google Docs that has their date, so their attendance, and then right next to it there's a little box where you can check. The ones that are checked, it means that they sent their reading submission to me. If it's not checked, that means they haven't sent it. Dates that just have like the date and no box means that it's just the day that you're giving the lesson. And I also have one where for the essay and the exam that you can check, so you have access to it on Google Drive.
Oh wow, you're good.
Wow, yeah. Okay, great. I'll take a look. And did you
I waste so much time on my
did you mention also if they're here? Is there room on your Google?
Yeah, so there's an absent and present section also. If it's A in red, that means it's absent. C is for present.
Oh wow, okay.
C is no.
Everything.
So
Yeah,
you're in charge of grading. I'm gonna post their grades and you just put it on the Google Doc.
I can do that.
We're gonna do it like that. Y'all are still here?
I'm recording on the thingamajiggies, the group chat thingy where you said.
What?
I'm recording the group chat stuff that you said, so I have notes.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, there is not great. I didn't put that much on the group chat.
I know, but I also just like want to make sure, just in case I miss anything.
Okay, great. Y'all can go, you know, the rest of you.
Everything's there. Let me know if you need access or not to edit it, because you're the one grading the essay and the exam.
Right. So how do I access this Google Doc? What happened?
I sent it to your email.
All right, bye, peoples.
Bye,
Enjoy your day.
Likewise.
When I figure out how to leave. Okay. Bye.
Wait, I haven't received the doc yet, though.
What have you not received?
The doc that Sophia, I think.
What are you talking about?
She was talking about how she sent us a doc where we can check our attendance.
Oh, Sharon.
Oh, no, that's not for you. That's for the professor.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we're
I'm sorry.
having a conversation while you guys are supposed to be leaving.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought that was for us. Okay, thank you. Sorry, bye. Bye.
Unless you have a question that you want to stay behind for.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay.
I sent it while we were in class.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Burko.
I got an email from like CUNY like an hour ago saying that we're gonna have a recess for like a week,
Oh,
and I don't know what that means, and I don't know if that applies to us.
We're gonna have to change the syllabus again and have new dates, basically based on this new schedule. Yeah, that's what it means.
Okay, but the test is still due Saturday night, right?
Yeah,
For
because
the test, we just still.
and this is the 27th that they've imposed this thing, right? Oh, that's coming up. I see.
I think they said starting this Friday. Yeah. I mean, it's fine. It doesn't matter for me. I just want to.
Yeah, the test is still there. Otherwise, I'm gonna go crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, the test is still gonna be
Okay.
due, and then we'll figure it out. Yeah, I have to.
But also because of that, our spring break is shorter now, and I celebrate Passover, so I wouldn't be able to like go to some of the classes if
No problem.
since it's short.
I'm recording these, so you'll go on Blackboard and you'll listen to the recording when you're ready. Yeah, not a problem at all. Yeah, for religion.
Okay. And for the reading response.
Same thing. You send it to Sharon, right? Religious holiday is fine. You can do everything.
Okay.
When you're ready, you send everything to Sharon with right
Okay.
on top Passover. Okay, so she knows that she has to accept it. Make sense?
Professor, I
Okay.
wanted
Okay. Thank you so much.
that this Thursday I
Bye.
won't
Thank you.
attend class.
Gonzalez.
Yes, I won't be able to attend class this Thursday because it's my grandmother's funeral. She recently just passed like 4 days ago actually. So I just want to let you know because I think I've been emailing you. I don't know if I've been emailing it to the wrong email because I haven't got a response.
Oh, are you emailing to dukana@yahoo.com?
Hold on, I'll tell you right now. Oh yeah, then probably the wrong email. I've been emailing it to MYRT.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so take down this email, DOUKHANA, Dukana,
Okay.
@yahoo.com.
Okay.
Perfect. So yeah, email me again. This Thursday, I think we already, right, Sharon? We were told not to have class, right? Does it start this Thursday? No.
That's Friday.
Starts Friday.
That's Friday. Okay. This Thursday, anyways, you're lucky. It's the Kierkegaard lecture. You don't lose any points. So, and I'll put it on Blackboard once I figure out how to do that, so you'll be able to listen to it later.
Okay. Yeah, because when I emailed you last Thursday, the first class that we had online, that was the day she actually did pass. So I couldn't attend. But I emailed you, but then I never got one back. So I was like, I don't know if you just didn't get it.
Okay, great. Good. So, no, perfect. Yeah, it's all good. No worries. Yes, go to the funeral.
Thank you. I will. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Wong and Malita, you have questions? Or you don't know how to leave?
All right, I'm gonna go. Text me and let me know if you got the Google Drive, okay?
Okay, very good. I will.
I only did it for this class. I'm gonna do 116. Did you take attendance yesterday?
Yeah, but yesterday was nothing because it was the Zoom stuff, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Today is really mattered because it was a lecture, so it doesn't matter for.
Okay, so I'll make that one later, probably tomorrow, so I have something to do.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Yes.
Can you hear me? Yes, Professor. I'm trying to email the reading assignment to the assistant teacher, but it kept saying that the recipient domain does not exist.
Huh. You put what's the email? I don't know how to access.
She said is sharon.mejia@qc.cuny.edu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep trying to email it to her, but it just kept saying that the recipient domain did not exist.
That's weird. Did you put a capital S on Sharon maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. You're trying right now?
Yes.
How do we do that? Like, how do I... here we go. Oh, hold on. Oops. Sharon.mejia@qc.cuny.edu with a capital S. Here's my Zoom. Uh-oh. No.
QC.QA.
I don't know where the meeting is. I lost my meeting. Oh, gosh. Oh,
I'm gonna try and send it to her again. Yeah, it says undelivered. It's really strange.
okay, so email it to me
Okay.
now, and I'm gonna try and find out what's going on. Because everybody somehow I haven't heard problems about it before. So,
Which, yeah, this is strange.
yeah, so you have my email, right? Dukana@yahoo.
Yes, I do.
And are you emailing it from, like, I don't know, what's your browser?
It's Chrome.
Yeah, right, that's right.
Yeah, it went through for you, but it didn't go through for Sharon, the TA.
Okay. I'll forward it to her and ask her what's going on.
All right. Well, thank you for helping me out. Have a good day, Professor.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Anybody left?